Hello friends around the world, this is Logan Myerz checking in with you from Cinephellas, and I'm reviewing John Hillcoat's new film, 999. This is a star-studded lineup. I was really excited about this from seeing trailers and reading about it in the past 6 months. It's got Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, obviously you all know him. My old Uncle Norman Reedus from Walking Dead. We got Casey Affleck. We got Clifton Jr., Anthony Mackie from the Marvel Universe. Kate Winslet and Chiwetel Ejiofor, I think is how you pronounce it. He plays Michael, but I'm going to call him Chewie for now. So essentially the premise of this film is we have a whole bunch of corrupt cops, and there's a gang of ex-military and current cops that are trying to pull off the ultimate heist to pay off some debt with the Russian mob. And the Russian mob is, Kate Winslet's character, Irina, I believe her name was, and her sister, which is played by Gal Gadot, and they're trying to, basically push into doing this heist to pay off this debt, to get this safety deposit box. And in the beginning of the film, it's probably the best part of the film, because it's super intense and in your face with the camera work, and they're going to a bank to get this security box. And, Aaron Paul and Norman Reedus and Anthony Mackie and Chewie going as masked intruders and with sunglasses on, and they're trying to get this safety deposit box. They got machine guns, and it's a whole bunch of action scenes where they're shooting, and they eventually get it and they take off, and there's this big shootout on the highway in Atlanta, and they're just like flipping out, especially Aaron Paul's character. He plays Gabe. He just flips out and shoots and kills people because he's out of his mind and he's a drug addict. And just thinking to myself, I'm like, how could this actually happen on a main highway with hundreds of cars just driving around and no cops show up, It was literally 5 minutes. It's just them freaking out and shooting people, and and it was like, really? How can the cops never show up, So obviously they get away, and they got what they're for, was this box of the Russians. And, just all these characters kind of clash, all different personalities, and, one's out of his mind, Gabe. Then you have Mike and Marcus, which is Anthony Mackie, Russell, which is Norman Reedus, Gabe's brother, and Franco, which is Clifton Jr. I love that guy. And, they get away, and they're like, oh, okay, we're good now from the Russians. We got what they wanted. Life's good again. We can all go back to our normal lives. So you think, but that, of course, didn't happen. It's kind of predictable, So, of course, Mike or Michael, his baby mama is Gal Gadot, and they're not done with him yet. The Russian mob's not done with him yet. They're like, you got to do this other heist to pay off the rest of this, and you're done with us. Yeah, right. And, as the movie progresses, they're trying to get together and figure out how they're going to pull off their last heist, and as the characters begin to dissipate and kind of break away from each other and just not getting along, we're actually getting the story of the actual cops, which is Anthony Mackie, which is Marcus, and then Franco, Clifton Collins Jr. And then coming into play, you have Woody Harrelson, good old Woody, doing what he knows best, smoking pot the whole fucking movie. Not really far from his normal life. And he's always stoned. He's smoking weed and then going to a crime scene all baked. And his nephew is Casey Affleck, which is Chris. He's the new guy on board that came from a good part of Atlanta to the bad part of Atlanta, where everything's just fucking shitty and crime everywhere. And you got tattooed face cholos and crackheads and it's just Training Day, basically. That's what it reminded me of. Woody Harrelson reminded me of, Denzel Washington's character that basically doesn't give a fuck about anything, and he knows the world's a bad place and there's nothing he can do about it. And Casey Affleck, as Chris, is the good cop that wants to, make a difference and stop crime and stop all these fucking bad guys from doing what they're doing, and obviously it's not going to happen. And one thing about Casey Affleck, he's always chewing gum in the movie for some odd reason. They always pan into him. He's like, I don't know why. I just thought that was kind of weird. So essentially, I mean, they're part of the movie. They're trying to figure out who this gang is, who did the bank robbery in the beginning of the movie, who did this heist. And Casey Affleck, his partner is Marcus, and they're working together and they're on the streets, and slowly but surely they kind of figure out what's going on, and there's these people, this gang is definitely somebody within the system, some corrupt cops, and they figured that out from like watching surveillance videos and the way that they attacked and the way the shootout was on the street. Like ex-military could only pull that off, the way they were going about it. So as the story kind of progresses, or lack thereof, Woody Harrelson's character and Casey Affleck are basically trying to figure out, there's these guys that are not doing good things, and they're gonna basically continue to do something. They're gonna do another heist, so they're trying to figure that out. Marcus, driving around and seeing all this crazy shit go down, the cholos and all these crazy motherfuckers that are going after Casey Affleck's character, basically because he put one of them away, one of the head honchos. So, it just seems like really raw and in your face with the camera work inside the car, and then going into all these really bad areas of Atlanta, and there's a bunch of shootouts, and some people died, some people survived, and it keeps happening. And just as this happens, you see Chris's character kind of start to plummet. He's not the nice guy as he was. He's learning the ways of the streets and trying to put an end to all this, and also figure out what the whole scenario with the gang in the beginning of the film with his uncle. And as this happens, we get we get to see the gang and how they're really breaking at the seams, like Michael and Marcus, Franco and Gabe. They're just seeing as they kind of break apart from each other and just pissed off at each other, and knowing that they're not done with the Russian mob and they're going to have to do one more heist that could cause them to die. It could be the end of them, because when you get involved with the Russian mob, it's not good. And that's where Kate Winslet's character was pretty solid, even though you couldn't really understand if she was an English or Russian or Polish accent. It kind of threw me off, but whatever, I'll let that slide, Kate Winslet. Throughout the whole movie, basically, her character has Michael by the balls because he had a baby with her sister. So whatever he does, it doesn't matter. They're still family, and she's still going to control him. And he was basically the head of the gang, and he's telling the other guys that we need to do this so we can be done for good with these assholes, this Russian mob. But of course they're like, yeah, right, whatever. They said that last time. And as we go into the final act of the movie, Jeffrey, which is Woody Harrelson, the cop, the corrupt cop that's stoned all the time and is drug-induced coma, finally figures out what this gang of robbers, what their main target is. And it's somebody, super close to him, obviously. And as he figures that out, there's this whole scenario at the very end, the last 15 minutes, in this old abandoned building, where the 999 takes place, which is basically when a cop goes down. All the surrounding cops in the area basically leave what they're doing and go help out that wounded cop. So when they're you think about it, all the cops are going to this one area. Wouldn't this be a perfect time to do a heist? I think so. So that was what they were shooting for. So as the 999 takes place and there's a cop down in this old building, all the cops in Atlanta are gone. They're at this one building trying to help out their fellow colleague. And this is where the final heist takes place with a few characters. And it was not really, it was kind of lackluster. It wasn't as tense as I thought it would be. And it just kind of felt rushed. And the whole scenario of them going into this place, it was just really? Come on. If you guys can take out all these people, it just wasn't really believable. Kind of let me down because I was more excited for something to happen, like a cliffhanger or some sort of twist or something like that, but that wasn't the case. You can basically figure out, that's how they set it up to do the final heist, and I'll let your mind ponder that and figure out how the movie ends, but it's pretty predictable, and I predicted it and didn't really catch me off guard or anything. I'm like, okay, that's exactly how it's going to end. And that's what was kind of shitty about it. Just the ending was just like rushed and just predictable, and there's no plot twists thrown at you or anything like that. I think the ending was definitely not good. I mean, the best part of the movie was the beginning, and then it kind of just went downhill. So overall, 999 is comparable to other movies of the genre of the crooked cop and mobster movies. It's like Training Day meets Point Break meets The Town. I mean, nothing more, nothing less. It's, you know, it's like those movies, but more boring, and it just didn't really have a great ending and great storyline as the other films did. So, I mean, it was a fun time at the movie theater. It was cool to see all these actors together in one film, kicking ass and, you know, basically robbing the banks in these places. And but I think other characters, like other actors, like Norman Reedus, Aaron Paul, were underutilized in the film, where, you know, Anthony Mackie and Chewie got more time in on the camera that I didn't think they really needed to be. But overall, I think that the writing and the use of the Russian mob, Kate Winslet, the Russian mob, was kind of the downfall of the movie. I think the Russian mob aspect of it could have been used for another film. I thought it had nothing to do, shouldn't have had anything to do with this movie. Could have been its own separate entity in its own movie, but whatever. John Hillcoat, I'll let that one slide, even that writing team. But overall, like I said, I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was terrible. The acting was there. The camera work was great. It gave it that raw aspect that we love from other movies of the genre. And I think it just would have been better if there's more plot twist and everything wouldn't have been as predictable as it was. From like halfway into the movie, I just kind of predicted I was right. So I like when movies kind of, you know, have a twist there and you're like, holy shit, I did not guess that, but that wasn't the case in here. It really wasn't fulfilling. Like when I left the movie theater, I was like kind of, meh, whatever. It is what it is, basically. And also I think just the ending and like the halfway through the second act was kind of really drawn out. It's like, all right, hurry up. It was just like 20 minutes too long. So I think if, you know, they would have done some better writing for this and removed some of the elements of the Russian mob, I think it would have been way better. But it was okay. I had fun. You know, go check it out if you like. Otherwise, you can check it out when it comes out on Blu-ray or on Netflix. But otherwise, that was it, you know? And there's one thing I did learn from this movie. One important thing. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. Dirty deeds done dirt cheap. I'm giving 999 a 3 out of 5. Cheers!